From the heartland of America to every nation on earth, this is Jack Van Impe Presents The Truth in News and Commentary. Here now are Doctors Jack and Rexella Van Impe.
Hello and welcome to Jack Van Impe Presents. We are so grateful to be in your home right now in order to be able to share some of the global headlines that perhaps you haven't seen or will see here in the United States. The first one, U.S. issues worldwide travel warning. And Doomsday clock moves 1 minute closer to midnight. And hundreds of North Korean, I said that, hundreds of North Korean nuke scientists in Iran. Oh, that is so very, very serious. And we are going to be considering all those headlines and much more. But first of all, you know, I get letters all the time saying, oh, we really like it when Jack starts with a good humor story. And you were telling me, again, before we came on the air, that you have a good story for us, Jack.
This father was very ill, and he needed heart surgery. And his son was one of the specialists at the hospital. So he said, son, I want you to do this. The great morning came, and the family was gathered together, and the surgeon's wife was there as well. And so he looked at both of them. He said, son, I trust you, but if I should pass during this surgery, I want your wife to know that I've instructed her mother-in-law, my wife, to move in with both of you. I bet that surgeon really tried to do his best.
Oh, Jack, you get things in the mail like that all the time, don't you? Well, you know, Jack has often said to me how very grateful he is and honored that he's been able to speak in some of the most wonderful churches in the United States, like for Dr. Lee Robertson in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or Dr. W.A. Criswell down in Dallas, and also for Dr. Adrian Rogers, the past president of the Southern Baptist Convention. Jack, you were so very, very grateful in order to speak for the man who is on the screen right now.
In one of the largest churches in Tennessee.
Yes, absolutely.
No, he's with the Lord now, but boy, he left a message behind.
Right here, and we're going to put it on the screen as to what he said. America defeated the pagan Hitler in his ambition to rule the world from Germany and destroy all Jews and confessing Christians. Next, our nation became the principal bulwark against communism, which aimed to change every nation into a communistic state with the goal of organizing the world into secular economic units where religion would be eliminated and even the concept of God would be rejected. Now, America has been the first to vigorously oppose radical Islam, which presents a danger to the entire world in its ambition to take over every nation, either politically or by force, and subject everyone to the will of Allah and Sharia law. We know now that terrorist activities are much more than criminal acts. We have therefore declared war on terror. As the last superpower, America continues to be the only nation that stands in the way of Satan's effort to take over the world, this time using radical Islam.
Wow.
What an amazing article. I think that you will agree. And I really have to ask Jack, is Dr. Adrian Rogers right in this article, Jack? What do you think?
100%. In 2 Timothy 3:1 says, this know also that in the last day, it's here, dangerous, perilous time shall come. And in Luke 21:25, Jesus said, just before I return, nations will be in distress with perplexity and mass confusion. And I'm telling you, we have a bunch of terrorist cutthroats out there. Listen to all these different groups and associations and organizations that are slaughtering their own people and slaughtering Christians around the world. You have, of course, bin Laden's crowd, which is Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Hamas in Palestine, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and now we have Al-Shabaab, who just murdered 2 million Christians in Sudan, Africa's parts. And finally, the new one called Boko Haram. And they're the ones that on Christmas Day slaughtered all these Christians in Nigeria. And Pope Benedict XVI condemned that act, that the day we're celebrating the birth of our Savior Jesus, these men would go in and slaughter these Christians. But they're taught this in their denominations. For instance, the worst group is the Wahhabites. That was created in Egypt, and they will kill anyone they can. Bin Laden was in that group. He promoted that movement, and he said, if we can kill all the Shiites and Sunnis, it'll be a good thing because they're not true to the faith. Then we have the Shiites, Ahmadinejad's group that wants to just slaughter everyone they can. Muslims killing Muslims by the thousands in this uprising in all of the Muslim Arab nations. God help them to see what they're doing. And then there's Alawite of Syria. But the group that really preaches love, and this is the religion of peace, the only group in all of them is the Sufis. And I've met a few of them, and they're different people, even though they are Muslims. Rexella, he's right on. We are in trouble.
My, oh my. Jack and I have had probably close to 1,000 flights into 50 countries, and I never in all my life thought that I would see a headline like the one you're going to see right now. U.S. issues worldwide travel warning. The U.S. Department has issued a worldwide alert for American citizens about possible anti-U.S. actions following charges against 2 Iranians accused of conspiring with Tehran to kill the Saudi ambassador to the United States. And that just happened last October, a few weeks ago. Here's something. Also, sleep well and watch for terrorists. Are you kidding? Here, the Department of Homeland Security is recruiting hotel guests to join the fight against terrorism. They are saying welcome screens on 1.2 million hotel television sets in Marriott, Hilton, Sheraton, Holiday Inn, and other hotels in the United States will show a short public service announcement from the Department of Homeland Security. The 15-second spot encourages viewers to be vigilant and call law enforcement if they witness something suspicious during their travels. And then, of course, Clinton warns of bioweapons threat terrorism. That is Hillary Clinton, of course. Now, we talk so very, very much, friends, about terrorism today. The United States is on alert for terrorism, like even in the hotels. They're giving this little short announcement. If you see this, be sure and call. Does the Bible address terrorism? God knew that it would come. Did he address it in the Bible, Jack?
Oh, Rexella, I'll tell you, we're living in terrible times. 1,200,000 warnings in the hotels of America, and the Muslim population is less than 1% here, and the Christians number 80%. And yet we're going to have to face this kind of thing in the future? Does it address it? Yes. In Genesis 6:11, in Noah's day, the world was filled with violence and terrorism. Jesus picked up on that in Matthew 24, verses 37 to 42. Now, every Christian I know usually says, oh, that's the rapture, one taken, one left behind. No, it isn't. This is the judgment that's coming. He says it's going to be like Noah's day. A flood came, millions died. Now listen carefully. As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as it was before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, and knew not, believed not that it was going to happen until it did come. And when it did come, they're pounding on the ark, help us, open the door, but God shut them in. They couldn't open the door. So then he goes on to say concerning the judgment, 2 shall be in a field, 1 shall be taken, death, the other left. 2 women shall be grinding in a mill, 1 shall be taken, death, 1 shall be left. 50%. Now, can I prove that figure? You can't for the rapture because 50% of the world is not Christian. And many that claim to be aren't living the lives. But I can prove that with biblical figures. Now, let's just say that the population was 6 billion now. It's much easier to figure with that than a divided number like 7 billion. All right. In Revelation 9:18, by these three was the third part of men killed by the smoke, fire, and brimstone, nuclear warfare. 1/3 of 6 billion is 2 billion dead, 4 billion left. And then in Revelation 6, verses 7 and 8, Hillary Clinton was talking about biowarfare, germ warfare. There is a rider on a sickly-looking horse, and his name is called Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over 1/4 of the population of the earth to kill with sword, hunger, death, and the beasts of the field, viruses. We now have 4 billion left. 1/4 of that is 1 billion. 3 billion left. 3 billion have died. 3 billion are left. That is Matthew 24, verses 37 to 42. Now, you can do that with other figures. Anything that goes by 6, 6 billion, 12 billion, 18 billion, 24 billion. It always comes out to 50%. And we are headed for that hour. But isn't it wonderful that there's a way out? Jesus said in Luke 21:9, when you hear of wars and commotions, wars and revolutionaries, wars and terrorism, don't be frightened. These things must first come. Before what? When they're happening? He says, then shall they see the Son of Man, Jesus, coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to happen, look up. Your redemption draws nigh, the redemption of the body. When he says, come up hither, and we're raised bodily in the twinkling of an eye, 1 Corinthians 15:52. But then he says, when you see it happening full blast, verse 31, it is this generation that shall not pass from the earth. We are that generation, as I'm proving in my new video that's coming out. Awake America, the world's final warning. We're going to hear it soon. We're going up, folks. Be ready.
Oh, Jack, what a promise that is. You know, probably one of my favorite verses. Jack, you got over 15,000 verses memorized. I wish I had that much, but one that's always meant so very much to me is John 14, let not your heart be troubled.
Amen.
God is truly in control, and we can trust in him, and let not our hearts be troubled. But you know, something I wish that many pastors across America and abroad would be willing to speak up concerning something, and that is a standard of Christian living. Now, I referred to the article you're going to see right now last week, but here's a statement by the Prime Minister of England, of the Great Britain.
These are more warnings.
Yes, they are. Stand up for Christian values, says Prime Minister Cameron. Now, let me just read something here. Whether you look at the riots, the financial crash, and the expenses scandal, or the ongoing terror threat from Islamist extremists around the world, one thing is clear, said the Prime Minister: moral neutrality or passive tolerance just isn't going to cut it anymore.
Right.
A report from the Catholic World Report. The Quran gives the Muslim the right to judge Christians and to kill them for the jihad, the holy war. It commands the imposition of religion through force with the sword. Going on, Christians persecuted and martyred across the world. And I'm going to see right now what they're referring to. Dozens killed in Islamist attack on churches in Nigeria. All right, there's one. Nigeria churches hit by blasts during Christmas prayers. Can you imagine that one? Christians wary of Arab turmoil. And my, oh my, all across the Middle East, they are experiencing this. Let's go on. Middle East Christians facing extremist atrocities. That's from the British news. And again, Coptic church that's in Egypt, torched in Egypt. The Coptic Christian church. And Iraqi Christians living in fear. I can just imagine those Christians there in northern Iraq especially. Syria's Christians